it's Logan and I'm back again with another fashion related video. This week we're talking about the top 5 trends from New York Fashion Week Spring 2024. And yes, if I have bags under my eyes and if I look hella tired, it is because I have been watching this for like the past, it started Friday. So I've been like covering it like as if I'm some journalist. But I was journaling it. I was like that journalist that was like doing the play by play, like this is what happened, this is what happened on the runway, this, then that. Anyway, I've gotten it all compiled together to bring you guys the top 5 trends that we're seeing from New York Fashion Week, Spring 2024 for summer, spring, what we're going to be seeing out there. And you heard it here first because I will say, I did all this by myself. I did not look at any other blogs. I did not look at any other videos to get kind of hints. This was literally just me watching the runway and seeing what I think the trends are. And I think I'm right, by the way. So if this is my perspective. Obviously, every video is a perspective, but this is my perspective. You may see some other trends that you're like, girl, she should have mentioned this. This is what I'm talking about. And we're about to get into it. Last thing I'm going to say is I totally forgot what I was about to say, so never mind. Let's get into the video. So we do not have a fancy setup, so if I'm staring at the camera a lot, it's because I'm looking at the pictures that I am using for this video. You guys are going to see them on the screen, but I'm just staring at the thing so I can see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to get up close and personal, so this is my face. It's gonna be in your face for a little bit. Apologies. Anyway, okay, so without looking at the pictures yet, the biggest trend that I noticed and that I was kind of confused if anyone asked for and if we actually wanted it, because I'm not gonna lie, when it was gone, I was like, I hope to God that thing doesn't come back. Is low-waisted pants, jeans, skirts, basically. It's like your waistline drops from your waistline. Well, what is it? Like the line goes from your waist to your hips. So we're like doing that 2000s kind of like late 90s thing where your line is sitting low on your hips. And you can see it in the picture when you're talking about like low waist. That's basically what it is. Kind of that classic 2000s look where you're given basically 2000s. And when I did see this trend come out, I was like, oh, maybe this is just a few, because I was watching the runways and I saw it on a few, especially, and there were some looks I was like, this is totally cute. And then other looks I'm like, I feel like this can only fit for certain people. Maybe not everyone will look good in this. Well, and that's trends in general. Not every trend's gonna look really good on you. But yes, low waist are definitely a thing and they are definitely coming back. And we see it on multiple runways. We see it on multiple runways, but the runways that I specifically noted it on were advisory, and you just see this like really awesome top look, gloves, and that waistline is really, really low, like very below the navel, and it's just giving like an extra like, I don't know, seductive piece, I guess, to this look. And then we see it on Laquan Smith's runway, where we have this awesome leather look, but with a lower low waist as well, and a crop jacket to really emphasize the differences between the two, kind of like the same way as the advisory look, but slightly different with a cropped jacket. Definitely a look here. This guy is killing it. I do not know who this model is, but he wore that thing. That thing looks awesome. And then we're also seeing it on the Ralph Lauren runway in a jean color. Well, in a jean material. Definitely that low waist with a kind of like sleeveless top and a little peek out of skin to also emphasize that low waist, that kind of classic 2000s like look that we had in the past. And on the TB runway, or TB runway, apologies if I said that wrong, we're also seeing a low waist but in a more formal look where your button up is, well, not your button up, excuse me, your blouse is tucked into low-waisted trousers and you have the classic like suit jacket over it. They're definitely very breezy and flowy, but definitely keeping that low waist, so it's not just a like look that comes where you're like showing navel, stuff like that. It's definitely still going into like professional wear. And then Who Decides War has it in a jean look as well, but jean pants, and definitely cool way that they've integrated the belt part, well, the top part of the pants into the look with like flipping it down. But we're definitely seeing this look come back, and as you can see, that waist is really low, like it's kind of just hanging on the hips there. Another thing that I did notice that you can see from these pictures, and I'll show a couple of other pictures for it too, is that the waistline got low, and also the hemlines also got low too. Which I think is interesting because apparently they have this index that they started in the 1930s. Correct me if I'm wrong, not trying to give fake information out here, but it's called the hemline index, and it says that like the length of the hemline is an indicator of economic like activity, where the situation is economically. Shorter hemlines mean really good economic activity, the economy is booming. Longer hemlines mean that it's not doing that great. So I think it's interesting how fashion may be indicating a few things here. If the runway is coming out with more longer hemlines, does this mean something outside of the fashion world? Because it's definitely, the index is pretty, I guess, accurate. So quite interesting. I would say probably economically we can all agree that that is very different from pre-2020. So maybe this is kind of showing a shift in how fashion looks, and maybe fashion is speaking outside of just the fashion world, which is fascinating too. And I will show, if I haven't already, I'll show two more examples of longer hemlines on the runway. Then what we also have is a trend for sheer, which I think is pretty dope. I love the way this look was done. In all, like, I love this trend in terms of like embracing like sheer clothing, and also not necessarily covering, like most of the time when we see sheer clothing it also has like a bandeau or something under it, but there were a lot of runway looks where that was not a feature and it was just the sheer top and or sheer dress, and the look was pretty iconic in my opinion. Unfortunately, the looks that I am showing now, they don't have those because I don't know how YouTube regulates that. It is fashion, but I wasn't trying to get flagged or nothing, so I picked the most looks that showed the trend but also did not feature anything I thought I might get flagged for. But I would definitely say if you're super interested in the sheer trend, go check out some of those looks too because they were absolutely gorgeous. But we see on Palomo, Spain, this like classic like sheer dress look with a kind of like a bralette, I would say, and a bikini bottom underneath it, or that may be shorts. Definitely, and it's like an elevated look too. It's not just like like a beach cover up kind of thing. It's definitely a item that is like being put out as an elevated look, as we can see from the Christian Siriano look as well as the Jason Wu look too, which is also a classic. It just like looks like water on this model, and then the Coach look kind of is similar a little bit to the Palomo Spain look, and a little bit to the Christian Siriano look in terms of color and construction of it, but definitely sheer is a huge hot trend that I saw on this runway, and definitely something, if you're getting into those trends and you really want to be trendy this season, you should definitely check out. This is also something that I saw a lot of after I came up with my trend ideas, and I was like, this is what I think are the trends from spring summer 2024 New York Fashion Week. I looked up and I saw a lot of other people were talking about shit. I was like, okay, wasn't bugging, because like that, it was just like amazing looks. And honestly, I didn't want to put the looks in and then black out the top where there is no like bra or anything, because I didn't want to ruin how it looked on the runway, so I just didn't put them in. But you should definitely go check those out. It was beautiful. Another look that I kept seeing on the runway was kind of like color to me on this runway wasn't a huge feature in terms of like, I felt like it was very heavily leaning towards black and white, whether black and white featured together in terms of looks, or it was just an all white look and all black look. And maybe because I have to admit, this is my first time really trying to like predict trends from a runway. Maybe that's something that, I don't know, is normal on a runway, and a lot of color isn't on a runway, because for me, I wear a ton of color, as you can see from like my whole obsession with pink. So I was like, this is not a lot of color, but it stood out to me to the point where I was like, I actually think this may be a trend, where the same thing with longer hemlines kind of being an economic indicator. I think the lack of color is also an interesting take on maybe the runway is shifting, maybe the fashion world is shifting to a more less colorful, less, I guess, more, like maybe more like concise looks, and maybe more statement pieces versus colorful, bolder pieces. I don't know. But what I did start noticing was a lot of these runways had these all black looks, these all white looks, and a lot of them would feature, as you can see from Gabriella Hearst. I also hope I said that right. And COS, also hope I said that right. Doing like a suit jacket look with this all white or all black look. And honestly, I wouldn't call the Gabriella Hearst look white, maybe more of a cream, but it definitely stood out to me too. And then you have this also all leather look that was happening with black, like an all black leather look from the, I'm gonna Google it real quick because I'm not gonna try and screw up this name. In the other two photos, you see like this all black leather look with like Altuzara, also I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Kate, with this like classic like black leather look, the fringe, which we're also seeing on the COS look, and as well as like the clutch, the gloves, it's all black. And the Phillip Lim look is an all white look, and it's very much paired, as you can see from these, it's very much paired with like a statement piece overcoat or jacket or pea coat slightly, like, or a suit jacket, something over it with a pair of like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what this trend really was, but it definitely stood out enough to where I noticed it. And honestly, because I didn't check out other places for information just to keep it authentic to myself, I don't really have an insight onto if this is actually a thing, but this is definitely something I was noticing. And definitely to take note of, from what I'm interpreting from this is that all black looks, all white looks are definitely coming out, especially in those more professional clothing, I guess, or like night out looks, necessarily like meeting looks, like all white, very office attire, but very statementy, very crisp, if that makes sense. This is my favorite trend that I saw, which is an all red dress look. And I thought it was bugging. I was like, how I feel, but I've seen it. I've seen it on so many runways that I'm like, this is definitely a trend in terms of like dress wear, if that makes sense, where you have this look where it's all red. So we're seeing this all red look on the Ulla Johnson runway, on the Princess Schooler runway with this all red look. It's a very casual look as contrasts from the Ulla Johnson look with this like very big flowy dress with all these kinds of ruffles. And then you have, I'm going to say, a canvas of like this all red fringe look, just basically statement pieces all the way around, where we're pulling in red as the focal point, and everything that comes to the outfit is also red. And on the Kate runway, first of all, I gotta say the cinematography for that one was brilliant. Even in these pictures that I have in this presentation, I don't know. It's just the shadows and the light really bring out the contrast and like silhouettes of these outfits. But this dress on her is absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely a red statement piece, and it's making red the statement in a dress look. On the Bach Mai runway, we're also seeing a completely red look paired with a jacket as well, and a little bit of like, I would call that maybe a burgundy color to edge up the corset. Um, but I would still argue that this is like an all red dress look, and it was definitely something that was on a lot more runways than just the five that I'm showing right now. And definitely a trend in terms of color, and also a look, which is a dress look paired with this like bold, dominant red color to definitely make a statement. Another really cool trend that I also started noticing, and maybe I don't know. I thought it was really cool, so maybe I kind of started looking for it, but it's definitely this metallic-y kind of look, um, using sequins or just like a metallic material. Okay, so we also see the sequin metallic-y sheer like kind of look, like kind of gloss look on the Carolina Herrera runway. I cannot do ours properly, excuse me. And on the Naomi Campbell and Pretty Little Things pairing, we also see this look up here. Um, definitely started to notice it was leaning towards silver as well, because we also see this on the La Pointe runway and the A Canvas runway with these two looks, especially the boots, which I noticed when I was pairing all these items together and like figuring out what was going on. They look very similar as well, and it's definitely like this metallic kind of trend that I see coming out too, where like, leaning towards like kind of the silverish color, but like a very like standout metallic look. And Laquan Smith also had a lot of these looks on his runway. Out of all this whole trend, I definitely think he was the one who pulled it out the most. And these looks from that runway are amazing. Like, completely loved every single one of them. And I also saw a lot of really cool things on his runway in terms of like the low waist trend, but because those tops weren't, I didn't want to get flagged again, so I didn't know how to show them. But definitely would recommend going to look at that runway for sure, because a lot of those looks were some of my favorite from the whole New York Fashion Week, to be honest. But we're definitely seeing this like metallic-y silver trend, kind of tinfoily, if that makes sense. And like, I don't know, just looks amazing, very interesting to think about and how to incorporate it into our looks. And this one, at first, I was gaslighting myself. Like the last trend, I was gaslighting myself, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm really reaching for this. But confirmed, I am going to step out and say I really saw a lot of 70s, 60s, like a lot of 70s and 60s inspiration into a lot of the clothes on New York Fashion Week 2024. And at first I was like, maybe I'm just like, obviously clothing is always circling back on itself. It's never like there's one era of clothing and you never go back to it. They get pulled from a lot. But I saw a lot of inspiration from these two periods on the runway. And I was like, am I bugging? But no, for real, like, we're seeing it in these colors, especially with the Ralph Lauren look. It was more, not necessarily in the fit, but it's just like the hair, the jewelry that went with it, the top, it's giving kind of like sort of a hippies vibe, if that makes sense. That I was like, this feels 70s to me, especially the bandana around the waist, if that's not part of the skirt. The bandana around the waist really pulled at that look for me, and I saw that there first, and I was like, giving 70s, but maybe it's just a Ralph Lauren thing. And then we also see the area fashion show where a lot of these looks come into play, especially like this like a vest look with the pants. Not only is it pulling on that all white trend that I was talking about earlier, but you're also seeing kind of a 60s, 70s era look on this model with the way the vest is worn, the style of it, definitely pulling back on that earlier time. And definitely the Sergio Hudson runway as well, with the 70s like iconic look that we always think of, like 9 to 5, those kinds of looks. You have the jacket. First of all, this yellow color is absolutely giving, but you have this jacket, not jacket, excuse me, this coat, the fit of the top, the bow, the way the skirt is fitting, the belt, it's definitely pulling from these earlier eras. I would also argue the Anna Sui look is also pulling on that 70s kind of hippies look, but the hair is also giving 60s, and so is some of the like frill to the look, which made me realize it may not just be like a 70s interest, but also like 60s as well, because when we look at the Alice and Olivia runway, we're also seeing some of this like short, like that classic 60s look with the short dress, that short dress, very leggy, high boots, and like bumped hair, like that little bump they used to have. So I was like, this is definitely a trend, like in terms of something we're seeing out in the runway now, definitely something I would take note of. So, guys, I was just editing this when I realized that I deleted the ending of my video. I apologize. I don't know how that happened. That sucks, but basically, that was my take on New York Fashion Week Summer and Spring 2024. If you have anything else to add, or you saw your own trends that you were interested in sharing, please hit me up. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts, because this was honestly really fun. I'm planning on doing the same thing for Paris Fashion Week, because I want to kind of take a break a little bit though, because this was a lot of work. So I'm gonna skip Milan this year, maybe do it next year or something, but definitely doing Paris Fashion Week. But share your thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys, and feel free to subscribe too if you liked it, and also like the video, and see you on my next video. Bye.